In this video, we're going to take a look at the whole block drawing and add dimensions as well as the appropriate tolerances as specified on activity 211 shown on page number 9. So in this case, a few things before we get started. I do want to change my document settings a little bit. So on the linear dimension precision, I do want to make sure that I do have only 2 decimal places being shown, and I want to display the trailing zeros that also show up. Those are the only 2 changes we're going to make in the document settings right now. I can go ahead and collapse that, so that way that doesn't take up as much of my screen, and then I can always double click, and on this scaling, let's change that over to a 3/4 scale. So that's going to make sure we got plenty of room here. And what I can do is I can drag this down, making sure that view label doesn't run into my title block, and I've got my section view. Okay, moving on to the dimensions and tolerances. Letter A on the activity has us going through and placing a bilateral or symmetric tolerance of 0.10 inches for the overall height, width, and depth. So I'm going to go ahead and choose dimension. Let me go ahead and get those placed. Overall width can be here. Overall height can be off of this dimension here. And then the overall depth being the 3 inches down there. So you're going to see it has the same level of precision as what they show on the drawing. One thing I may want to do is, let's see if I can actually go through and move the A there. So that way, and I'll do it over here as well. So that way that the extension line is not running through that letter. And we're going to apply those tolerances. I'm going to double click on the dimension. Here in this dimension, we can apply under the tolerance. We can apply the symmetrical tolerance. And in the menu here, 0.10 can be added. And I'm just going to repeat that exact same process to the other 3 tolerance values that I need. Okay, letter B goes through and says we're going to stack limit dimensions along the depth dimension, the 2-inch side. So right now I need to place a dimension by clicking this bottom corner. I'm going to click the center of the hole that's closest to the right side there, and I'm going to go ahead and set this 1-inch dimension. If I need to make a little bit more room for those dimensions to show up. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to double click on the 1-inch dimension. They want us to create a limit dimension. The upper tolerance, they want us to have 0.03. Lower tolerance, we're not adding anything, so we're going to have 0. So you're going to see 1.03 for the upper limit, 1 inch for the bottom, and then we can go ahead and say close, and that's going to go ahead and apply our tolerance in there for us and show that appropriately. C has us going through and placing, so I'm going to zoom in here a little bit, and I'm going to make some room. I'm going to drag this 5-inch dimension down. We're going to set in datum style dimensioning or baseline style dimensioning for the location of the holes. To use this function, I'm going to first create a dimension, clicking on this bottom left corner, clicking on the center of the hole, and go ahead and placing that 0.75 there. Now under the dimensions panel, I want to choose baseline dimension. So I'm going to choose first the dimension. I want to choose this left extension line, so that way it picks up that one. Then I'm just going to go down, I'm going to click the next hole, center of the next hole, center of the following, and the center of the last hole. When I'm done, I'm going to right click and I'm going to say OK. Now that sets in all those dimensions for me. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up a little bit more. And there we have our datum style dimensioning as noted in the drawing. For the next part, we're going to look at the holes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag this view down a little bit more so that way we can have plenty of room for our hole notes above on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and first off, I'm going to take a look at letter D. couple of these, Fusion does not have the ability to edit some of the whole notes yet with tolerances, so I'm sure that's going to be coming. So we're going to end up utilizing under text, leader, and then I want to make sure that it's just the leader type that I'm doing. So they want us to go through, so this one we're going to have to manually type in. I'm going to choose the edge of this hole, and we're going to manually type in the whole note. So here I'm going to do a diameter of 0.25, drill down 1 inch, I'm going to hit enter to create a second line. Then we're going to have, this hole is going to have a counter bore. The diameter on the counter bore will be 0.375, and they want us to add a unilateral tolerance. So we're gonna kind of, there's really not a unilateral tolerance option, but here's what I'm gonna do is we're gonna do plus 0.003. And on this line, I'm going to go ahead and do a depth of 0.25. Now I'm going to hit enter again, and I'm going to space over, just hold down the space bar, do minus when I get underneath the plus sign here, and then I can go ahead and put 0.000. So this is going to represent a unilateral tolerance. And that's kind of what we're looking for in this one. Okay, the other one is we have a bilateral symmetric tolerance on the countersink hole. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the same leader note. Select the countersink. This one is going to have a diameter of 0.50, and we're going to add a bilateral tolerance. So I can go under symbols, plus minus 0.002, and then space TRU, hit enter, and now I can go ahead and choose the rest of it. Symbol will go into a countersink. This has also a diameter symbol, 1.00, and by 82, and then under the symbol we should see degrees. And I can go ahead and say close. Now the other two, we can use the hole and thread note. Since we don't have any tolerances on those, we'll place that there. We'll place this one here, and that will be good. You will notice on the picture they do go through and have a bilateral tolerance on this one. If you wanted to add this one in, this one would be pretty easy to go through and add in. Plus or minus 0.002, and there we would go through and add that in. All right, so this would go through and take us through all the specific tolerances that go on. The only thing that we have left is we need to add a general tolerances table to our drawing. So under tables, I'm just going to go ahead and say table, and instead of an automatic, I'm going to do an empty table, and I'm just going to place it kind of like down here in the corner. Now I want to go ahead and choose that it goes down, and I really only need, so here I can go ahead and choose under edit columns. I could go through and choose certain columns. So like column C, I can delete, and column C here now, the new column C. So I just have these two being noted right here. Here I'm going to go ahead and type in general tolerances. Under this second row, I want linear dimensions. And this one here, I want angles. So if I need to make any adjustments, I can go through and make some various changes. So like here, I can grab the gray grip boxes. I really want these to all be on. Let me bold these titles. And I really want them all to be on one single line together. Now, I can go ahead and type in there x.x, and then equals. We have a bilateral tolerance under the symbols. 0.020. And then really what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this and paste it in the other ones, in the other cells. I'm going to add another X, and I'm going to change this one to 0.10. And put those in. The angles, plus or minus 0.5 degrees. This will go through and set in our general tolerances table. I can go ahead and move this around as I need. And usually what I like to do with these tables is I use the move command. Choose the table, transform. I'm going to pick this bottom corner. Here we go. And I'm going to place this right about here on the drawing. All right, this video concludes the whole block drawing, adding in the tolerances and specifying those for our whole block model. You will screenshot this and then place that into the Google Sheets assignment for number 23.